Today we delve into the dark and chilling world of lesser-known real-life killers from around the globe. These individuals, though not as famous as some, have left a significant mark on history with their heinous acts. While their names may not be immediately recognizable, their stories are no less horrifying. In this video, we'll explore the sinister lives of these killers, examining their backgrounds, motivations, and the impact of their crimes. From the cold, calculating nature of Harold Shipman to the brutal savagery of Luis Garavito, each of these individuals offers a glimpse into the darkest recesses of the human psyche. Join me as we uncover the shocking true stories of these lesser-known serial killers. Their tales serve as grim reminders of the capacity for evil that exists within humanity. Let's begin our journey into the dark corners of history. Harold Shipman, a British general practitioner, is remembered as one of history's most prolific serial killers, a title that sends chills down the spine of many. Over 2 decades, Shipman exploited his position of trust to murder an estimated 250 patients, a staggering number that still shocks the medical community. His preferred method was administering lethal doses of painkillers, often under the guise of providing relief to his unsuspecting victims. This was a cruel betrayal of the medical oath to do no harm, a fundamental principle that every doctor swears to uphold. It wasn't until the suspicious death of Kathleen Grundy, a healthy elderly woman found with a forged will, that authorities began to suspect foul play. The web of deceit began to unravel as investigators dug deeper into Shipman's past actions. The subsequent investigation revealed a disturbing pattern of deaths, primarily among elderly women, all under Shipman's care, raising alarm bells. The trial of Harold Shipman in 2000 was a pivotal moment for the UK, capturing the nation's attention and leading to widespread media coverage. This led to significant changes in the monitoring of healthcare professionals, aiming to prevent such a tragedy from ever happening again. Shipman's ability to evade detection for so long underscores the vulnerabilities that can exist within trusted institutions, highlighting the need for vigilance. In the end, Harold Shipman took his own life in prison in 2004, a final act that denied justice to many of his victims' families. He left behind a legacy of pain and mistrust, forever altering the way people view the healthcare system. His story serves as a grim reminder of the potential for evil within positions of power, and the importance of safeguarding against such abuses. Luis Garavito, known as La Bestia or the Beast, is one of the most infamous serial killers in history. Operating in Colombia during the 1990s, Garavito confessed to the sexual assault and murder of over 190 young boys. His method was both cunning and ruthless. He would lure homeless and vulnerable children with promises of food, money, or work. The discovery of mass graves containing the remains of his victims revealed the true extent of his depravity. Garavito's arrest in 1999 brought a sense of relief and justice, but also raised questions about how such a predator could operate with impunity for so long. Despite his heinous acts, Garavito's sentence was surprisingly lenient by international standards. He received a prison term of 40 years, the maximum allowed under Colombian law at the time. This sparked outrage and calls for harsher penalties for such egregious crimes, leading to changes in the legal system. Garavito remains incarcerated, a living reminder of the horrors that can arise from unchecked evil. Aileen Wuornos stands out as a rare female serial killer who garnered widespread attention for her crimes and her complex, tragic life story. Her journey from a troubled childhood to becoming one of America's most infamous criminals is both harrowing and thought-provoking. Between 1989 and 1990, Wuornos murdered 7 men in Florida, claiming that they had attempted to assault her while she was working as a prostitute. These brutal acts shocked the nation and brought a spotlight to the often overlooked violence faced by sex workers. Wuornos' early life was marred by abuse, abandonment, and a relentless struggle for survival. Born into a broken family, she faced neglect and hardship from a young age, which set the stage for her tumultuous future. The killings began in late 1989, when Wuornos shot and killed Richard Mallory, a convicted rapist who she claimed had brutally assaulted her. This first murder was the catalyst for a series of violent encounters that would follow. Her arrest in 1991 marked the end of her violent spree, but the beginning of a media circus. The public and media were fascinated by her case, which was filled with sensational details and dramatic twists. Wuornos's trial was highly publicized, with sensational headlines and a keen public interest in her motives and mental state. The courtroom was often packed with spectators eager to witness the proceedings. In 2002, Wuornos was executed by lethal injection, but her story continued to resonate. Her life and crimes have been the subject of numerous documentaries, books, and films, each attempting to unravel the complexities of her character. The film Monster, starring Charlize Theron, brought her tale back into the spotlight, exploring the complexities of her life and the factors that led to her becoming a killer. Theron's portrayal earned critical acclaim and highlighted the tragic elements of Wuornos's life. Aileen Wuornos's story is a stark reminder of the human capacity for violence and the importance of addressing the root causes of criminal behavior. Her legacy challenges us to look deeper into the societal issues that can lead to such tragic outcomes. Pedro Rodriguez Filho, known as Pedrinho Matador or Killer Pedrinho, presents a unique and complex case in the annals of serial killers. Unlike many of his counterparts, Filho specifically targeted criminals, often those deeply involved in the drug trade or who had committed particularly heinous acts themselves. Born in 1954 in Brazil, Filho's early life was marked by extreme violence and trauma, shaping his future actions. He claimed his first victim at the tender age of 14, exacting revenge on a local politician who had unjustly fired his father from his job. Over the years, Filho killed many individuals, often justifying his brutal actions as a form of societal cleansing, a way to rid the world of its worst elements. His most notorious acts of violence occurred while he was incarcerated, where he targeted fellow inmates who had committed crimes he found particularly egregious and unforgivable. Filho's life and crimes have sparked intense debates about the nature of vigilantism and the ethics of taking the law into one's own hands, raising questions about justice and morality. Some view him as a hero, a vigilante ridding society of its worst elements, while others see him as a dangerous sociopath who took pleasure in killing. Pedro Rodriguez Filho remains a highly controversial figure in Brazil, a symbol of the thin and often blurred line between justice and revenge, leaving society to ponder his true legacy. Tsutomu Miyazaki, also known as the Otaku Murderer, shocked Japan in the late 1980s with a series of brutal crimes. Over a span of 2 years, Miyazaki kidnapped, murdered, and mutilated 4 young girls, acts that horrified the nation. Miyazaki's crimes were marked by extreme brutality and deviant behavior, including elements of necrophilia and cannibalism. Born into a well-off family, Miyazaki's life seemed unremarkable on the surface. However, his childhood was marked by social isolation and a strained relationship with his parents. The investigation into Miyazaki's crimes was a challenging task for Japanese authorities. His careful planning and meticulous execution of the murders made it difficult to link the cases initially. Miyazaki's trial was a media spectacle with intense public interest in understanding what drove him to commit such heinous acts. Tsutomu Miyazaki was executed in 2008, but his story continues to resonate as a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked mental illness. Robert Maudsley, often referred to as Hannibal the Cannibal, is one of Britain's most notorious serial killers. His moniker stems from the gruesome nature of his crimes, which included acts of cannibalism. Maudsley's early life was marked by severe abuse and neglect. By the time he reached adulthood, Maudsley was already showing signs of severe psychological distress. In 1974, Maudsley committed his first murder, killing a man who had allegedly propositioned him for sex. This violent act landed him in prison, where his homicidal tendencies only intensified. Over the next few years, Maudsley would go on to kill 3 more inmates, each murder more brutal than the last. The British authorities eventually placed Maudsley in solitary confinement, where he has remained for decades. Robert Maudsley remains a figure of fear and fascination, his life a grim testament to the potential for violence born from severe trauma and neglect. Andrei Chikatilo, also known as the Butcher of Rostov, is one of the most infamous serial killers in Soviet history. Between 1978 and 1990, Chikatilo murdered at least 52 people, primarily women and children. His crimes were marked by extreme brutality, including elements of mutilation and cannibalism. Chikatilo's early life was fraught with hardship, growing up during a period of famine and political turmoil. His victims were often lured with promises of food or work, preying on the vulnerabilities of a society in turmoil. The investigation into Chikatilo's crimes was hampered by the limitations of Soviet law enforcement. It wasn't until 1990 that Chikatilo was finally apprehended, thanks to the persistence of dedicated investigators and the advent of new forensic methods. Chikatilo's trial was one of the first major media spectacles in the post-Soviet era. Andrei Chikatilo remains a symbol of the horrors that can arise from a combination of personal trauma and societal dysfunction.